Where's Bro? Boring my way back. my God. Sorry.
Yeah, we always like stand up.
I was doing that last night.
but we're very excited to start now. We're going to begin with a welcome to country, so I'll invite you to Nikki and Norm. Can't hear very well. It's close to your face.
Graduating today, to Norm, my partner, for walking beside me. I thank the Creator who watches over this land. I thank the Creator who watches over this land on which we're upon. I thank the Creator who watches over this land on which we are visitors. We are proud to follow in the footsteps of our ancestors who have gone before us. Niani Bhagavata, Warrnambool. Thank you, and take care of Warrnambool country.
Thank you so very much. Hi, my name is Lara, and I'm originally from the UK, but I've had the sincere privilege of living and working on Warrnambool land for many years now. And I'd like to thank the sovereign owners of this land and all the lands on which our school has a presence for their care, custodianship and leadership. I'd like to affirm my commitment and the commitment of the school to respecting and upholding the health and well-being of the land, of the communities and the individuals that we serve. And I'd particularly like to thank Nikki and Uncle Norm for their generous welcome to these beautiful lands and to the Warrnambool community. And I hope that we can repay that generosity with genuine respect, collaboration and service. I'd also like to recognise the Indigenous guests we have here today, and especially the Indigenous students who are graduating. Now, I've been invited here today by the students as a representative of the school in my capacity as Director of the Medical Program. And I'm really honoured to be able to join this celebration. And I'd really like to start by thanking the students who coordinated today's event, because without them this wouldn't have happened. And I'm sorry that this wasn't the event that we'd initially planned, but I think you'd all agree that this is pretty special. And what an occasion this is. This group of graduating doctors, all of you guys sitting here, have come such a long way through such trying circumstances. And you've done it. You've traversed a program of study that's already very challenging professionally, personally, and professionally. And you've done it with huge, enormous pressure, huge additional pressures on you and your families and on the healthcare system that you're working in. It's hard to overstate how significant that achievement is. And I know that you'll carry these into your future careers. I know, and I hope you all know, that you've got such a strong, broad, and continually developing set of skills that will serve you so well in your future careers. And I'd like to thank each of you for the way that you've supported each other through your studies. And I hope that you cherish and continue that collegiality and friendship into the future. I'd like to recognise the contributions of the Medusa team, the student representative group, who've worked really hard to collaborate with the school to support your studies. And of course, I'd like to thank the huge group of staff who have worked so hard to support you, to challenge you, and to help you grow. They believe in you, and I hope that you believe in yourselves. Now, you will receive many wise words of advice from people much wiser than I am today. But if there's one thing that I personally would ask you to remember, that it's to keep hold of your own humanity as you emerge as a doctor. Grow your professional identity and take joy from it all. But don't forget the things beyond that role that bring you joy and make you who you are. And it's only by preserving and celebrating your own humanity that you can recognise the humanity of the people that you serve. And that's such an essential part of being a healthcare professional. Thank you very much. So now we're going to move to the most important part of today's proceedings and read out the names of graduating this week. I'd like to invite Dr. Kathryn, the unit chair for Year 4, to come and join me to help me in this process. And we'll be reading out the names of the graduates in pairs so that each pair can stand and so that we can recognise each one with short applause. Dr. Scott Anderson and Dr. Angela Arangelovic. Dr. Christina Banky and Dr. Bradley Borges. Dr. Priyanka Arena and Dr. Alexander Leach. Dr. Miriam Brownstein and Dr. Sasha Burley. Dr. Brianna Butterworth and Dr. Pablo Calero. Dr. Bridie Clark and Dr. Karina Cleland. Dr. Millicent Chapman and Dr. Lily Chen.
Dr. Alexander Coucher and Dr. Hayley Cron.
Dr. Georgina Cuthbertson and Dr. Joseph Dawson. Dr. Yvette Gasser and Dr. James Gaston. Dr. Talia Espechi and Dr. Matthias Fontanalba. Dr. Kate Glehill and Dr. Samuka Gomez.
Dr. Kerry Gordon and Dr. Jacob Gordon. Dr. Kane Harvey and Dr. Matthew Hurd. Dr. Janet Kaur and Dr. Amina Hydarovic. Dr. James Henderson and Dr. Stephanie Henderson.
Dr. Bevan Hurst and Dr. Silver Sway. Dr. Liam Johnson and Dr. Rivi Joshi. Dr. Sharon Young and Dr. Stephanie Yves. Dr. Sumya Jyoti and Dr. Jessica Kennedy.
Dr. Monique Kotsu and Dr. Katerina Lau. Dr. Joshua Linden and Dr. Alida Lewis. Dr. Casey Law and Dr. Oliver Ligras. Dr. Megan Lowry and Dr. Kathryn McGibbon Parker.
Dr. Emma McKinnon and Dr. McKinnon. Dr. Paolo Masangcay and Dr. Stephen Marbury. Dr. Latterly Ma and Dr. Ryan Moult. Dr. Hannah McDonald and Dr. Melanie McFarlane.
Dr. Miller McLean and Dr. Yusuf Masia. Dr. Bethany Nielsen and Dr. Phoebe Nevin. Dr. James Nair and Dr. Jordan Nathaniel. Dr. James Callisis and Dr. Stephanie Parker.
Dr. Georgia Parker and Dr. Corey Putmans. Dr. Vidura Ratnasakara and Dr. Benjamin Rana. Dr. Edward Kwan and Dr. Rohit Rajpal. Dr. Ridian Renston and Dr. Antonio Rigopoulos.
Dr. Lee Robbins and Dr. Amy Rogers. Dr. Hannah Ryan and Dr. Shubla Satari. Dr. Reese Rumley and Dr. Ponpru Rumwatana Safon. Dr. Candice Schultz and Dr. William Semple.
Dr. James Sewell and Dr. Leonie Shah. Dr. Olivia Sibillan and Dr. Adam Stroden. Dr. Kani Shan and Dr. Paul Siasat. Dr. Ellie Smith and Dr. Jonathan Somi.
Dr. Max Steinbrett and Dr. Madeline Taylor. Dr. Oliver Thompson and Dr. Tent Tui. Dr. Jeremy Taylor and Dr. Trent Taylor. Dr. Kim Tran and Dr. Gary Wallace.
Dr. Holly Waller and Dr. Tyson Walters. Dr. Alex Wong and Dr. Kathryn Zhang. Dr. Molly Watson and Dr. Daniel Weaver. Dr. Leo Zoe and Dr. Melinda Zsori. We also need to recognise those students who are graduating in absentia who couldn't join us today. Congratulations to them all. So I have the very great pleasure of announcing this year's recipients of the Dean's Award. And this award recognises that students will contribute at different times and in different ways throughout their medical degree by taking leadership roles, supporting colleagues, or promoting health. And this prize is awarded on the basis of contributions across all areas, including leadership in student societies, collegiality, as well as academic achievements. And this award also acknowledges peer recognition of achievement. This year, recipients of the Dean's Award have been recognised at each of the clinical schools, as well as an overall winner. There were many nominations, which was incredibly pleasing. I'd like to recognise for the Rural Community Clinical School, the Dean's Award is going to Bailey Vickers, who is graduating in absentia. For the Geelong Clinical School, the Dean's Award goes to Bevan Hurst. Warrnambool Clinical School, the Dean's Award is going to James van der Wald. From Ballarat Clinical School, Dean's Award goes to Paolo Masangcay. For Eastern Health Clinical School, the Dean's Award goes to Hannah McDonald.
Yeah!
And with absolute pleasure, the overall award for the school for this year, the overall Dean's Award, goes to Melinda Zsori. Congratulations again to all of the recipients. I think you're all exemplary examples of the fabulous nature of the graduates this year. These guys have done amazing things, but I think you all have as well. I'm going to hand over to Karen now to announce the Women in Leadership Award. Thank you, Laura.
The School of Medicine supports the advancement of women in medicine and acknowledges the gender inequity that exists within leadership positions. The Women in Leadership Prize recognises the contribution of the awardee within the MD and also across the community. This prize is intended to improve the visibility and support the development of current and emerging female leaders. This year, recipients of the Dean's Award have been recognised at each school as well as an overall winner. For the Geelong Clinical School, I'm delighted to present the Women in Leadership Award to Emma McKinnon. For the Warrnambool Clinical School, the Women in Leadership Award goes to Kim Tran. For the Ballarat Clinical School, the Women in Leadership Award goes to Miller Mcleod. For the Eastern Health Clinical School, the Women in Leadership Award goes to Natalie Marr. And the overall award for Women in Leadership goes to Kathryn Jung.
Thank you. We also need to recognise the achievements of students in the academic domain. And each year we recognise those students who are recipients of the Dean's List. So this is recognising those students who achieved highly in their academic endeavours this year. They're listed here. I'd like to you to join me in recognising these students. Thank you. I might hand over to the students now who are leading the next stage of the affairs.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Now we're going to, we're lucky enough to have with us today all of our clinical school directors. So I know some of you up the back. We've got a few words from the wise from them. If I could invite you all forward. I'll introduce you as you come. So we have, start with Associate Professor Kathryn Shaw, Director of Geelong Clinical School. We have Associate Professor Lara, Director of the Rural Community Clinical School. We have Associate Professor Barry Morphett, Director of the Warrnambool Clinical School. We have Associate Professor Deborah Leach, Director of the Eastern Clinical School. And we have Associate Professor Garner, the Director of the Ballarat Clinical School. So Cameron, being a Geelong Clinical School student myself, I thought, I know you best, so I might perhaps start with you. So we have a couple of questions each. The first one for you, Cameron, what made you want to be a urologist? And even more importantly, what made you want to be the Geelong Clinical School Director?
Yeah.
Do you remember the question? Or I'll go again. What made you want to be a neurologist? And even more importantly, what made you want to be the Geelong Clinical School Director?
Thanks for that. My response to the question about vocation is hopefully going to be something that'll be useful for you guys in your future training. Firstly, I'd say that not everyone gets to work at the frontiers of the human brain. Want to see how that would sound saying it out loud. But look, I think what happened to me was that I had some inklings of what I wanted to do when I grew up, when I was a medical student. That was sort of when it really started to take shape. So, I'd encourage you to, as graduates, to look to your medical student years and consider what you found academically interesting, challenging, stimulating, and use that as your starting point. From there, there was a chance throughout my postgraduate training as a junior doctor to actually understand what the practice of the different clinical disciplines might look like. So search for opportunities to choose a rotation that you're interested in. You may only get to choose one per year. So really put that down as a priority. If there's something that you've really got your eye on, at least even to rule it out. And then after that, I think the natural progression tends to happen as you start to gravitate towards members of particular disciplines that you relate to more, and they become your people, and you develop mentor relationships that way. So really look for opportunities to identify mentors in your life. The other thing that I'd suggest is why would you become a clinical school director? That's an excellent question, and I presume that most in this room aspire to that, so I won't spend a lot of time on that. But I would say that if there is a chance that comes up in your training or in your later career where perhaps you get to branch out and do something a little bit different, then I'd encourage, and I think I'm an example of how it can be helpful to take those opportunities when they come. They may not be what you've obviously been planning for or thinking about in the lead up to that moment, but it may turn out to be one of the better things that you've ever done, and that's certainly how I feel about this role. So I'm really thrilled that it worked out that way, but really for me it's actually about balance and having more than one portfolio or more than one area of interest that I can focus on in my working life, and it keeps a lot of a variety in my week is one of the real positives, and I get to hopefully stay there younger in contact with medical students on a regular basis.
One more question for you. A rumour is circulating that you claim Geelong Clinical School is the best of them all. I
think the quality of our graduate speaks for themselves. So.
So next up we have Lara. Thank you. Lara, so no doubt a percentage of students here today will become rural or remote doctors. What advice would you give them for success in the future?
I certainly hope so. And I'd firstly like to say go for it. And I think that my encouragement is to be brave as you go on your journey as a medical professional and take opportunities to push yourself outside your comfort zone. It's always where the best learning and personal development occurs, and you will have choices around that. For me personally, the first class that I ever took was when I was on a medical elective in Tanzania, and I learned something then that you need to have a break during a 2-hour class when half the students started walking out midway through. I learned through experience in Tanzania, in Nepal, sorry, we took a year off to work there, that if you actually want to improve your clinical skills, the best way to do it is to have to really rely on them. So pushing yourself into areas where you're less comfortable, you will learn a lot more. So go for it. And I think preparation is another thing that I would suggest that you think about as you embark on your journey. So these next few years that you're going to be doing the hospital rotations are actually really critical and will lay the foundation for your future work. I still feel most comfortable in areas that I did rotations in as a junior doctor. And so much as you're keen to get out of the training, usually get through your training program, I just encourage you to think about not rushing and making the most of the opportunities you have, because you don't get them back. To work in these high quality teams really at the cutting edge when you're on hospital rotations, and it's such a great learning opportunity that sets the foundation for you going forwards. Everyone's nodding who's been through it, I think. Yeah, so prepare and take opportunities to get experience. So if you are thinking rural, definitely try it out, along the way. And it's a journey, so learning about what you will need in future, it's the best way is to actually give it a go and discover what you need as you go along. I think that's the key is the lifelong learning and working out what you're good at and what you need support with. And as you think about where you want to work, think about what you can contribute, what your strengths are, but also what are your limitations and what do you need from other team members and from colleagues in a setting that you're going to work in. And I think that brings me to who you work with, not just where and what you do, but I think as you look to the future and where you're going to work, I would advise you to look closely with who you're going to work with, because I think that's often make or break in success. And looking for a team and colleagues that you feel that you can work well with. And, having gone through medicine for some time now, I think having good colleagues is just critical to survival and thriving. And so think about how you can be a really good colleague to those you work with and what you need from your colleagues. So start building your networks and who's going to be your phone of friends amongst your cohort and the teams that you work with in the next few years. Make those networks that you've got people to call on. So other than that, I've got a couple more things. Finally, I think get involved in the community wherever you are. Make those deep connections. And I think that's important to thriving and surviving, not just for you, but for your partner who may go with you and your family. So, building deep connections with community wherever you are and embracing the lifestyle and the experience that is there before you. And I think I'd just come back to an encouragement to continue to be curious and take an approach of lifelong learning, because I think this makes the journey really interesting wherever you are, and it will take you in directions that you might not predict. And yeah, it just is, I've found that to be a really great way of exploring new directions and finding new opportunities, and it's always an exciting journey if you do that. That's all for me.
I've got one more quick question for you. So from the students here today, who is the most likely to fall asleep in the RCCS tubes?
Oh, I've got to think. Yeah, no.
I can't think of anyone.
With that one. Yeah. He's gonna put his own hand up.
So next up we have Barry. Wonderful. Thank you for coming.
Wonderful to be here.
So I have a thing, but I hear Warrnambool is a beautiful coastal town, vibrant community. Why else should graduates consider a career in Warrnambool?
Well, let me start by saying I'm a little bit confused. I've heard Cameron talk about what makes him the characteristics of a neurologist, and Lara's talking about doing rural practice. And I'm a rural practitioner. And I thought I was at a travel expo because I've got to extol the virtues of Warrnambool. So my question to you is, how long have I got? I think that what we start, I think the first thing that you have to realise is that civilization doesn't stop at the West Gate or the Warrnambool roundabout. And there is life beyond that. Warrnambool, for those who don't know, is 260 kilometres away from Melbourne. So that gives us two advantages. One, we're away from Melbourne, and two, we're away from COVID. I think that just following up from what Lara says, is if you're going to take up a job in the country, it's a package. You've got to look at everything that's involved. And if we look at places like Warrnambool, and there are plenty of places across the state that are the same, where the medical fraternity in those towns have got great camaraderie, and it's a great place to work. Hospitals, private practice. You have to get used to the fact that patients that you may see in a hospital or in your private practice may well be accompanying you on the golf course when you're not at your best and your shots are going into the trees. You have to think of your family, you have to think of schools. Warrnambool is well off for both, and you look at the environment in which you work. Now, if I have to stop at a roundabout on the way to work every day, I get upset. I don't go through any traffic lights, traffic jams. What in the hell are they? So that's a great attribute for us. We are very community orientated, and that is a great thing for us. The other aspects that we have sporting facilities, we have the beach that's 5 minutes away, and one of the really great advantages that I had growing up was in Warrnambool was that I could have a busy medical practice and still attend my kids' sporting events, any other activities that they had, go to Daddy's Day at Kinder and etc. So I think that there is more to life than just going to the country to practice medicine. It's a total package. You have to have work-life balance. You've got to make sure your family is well set up, because if your family isn't well set up, then it's destined for disaster. In recruiting people, we pay particular attention not to what the candidate for the job is, but what their partner actually thinks. So you need to think of your partners when you're going to Warrnambool. Having extolled the virtues of Warrnambool, if any of you are thinking of coming down, it's too late, because Warrnambool's been overcome by everyone from Melbourne. There's no room.
Thank you. So I have one more question for you, if that's okay.
Sure.
You don't know about this one.
Yeah.
Warrnambool Clinical School is known for its ability to produce very high-performing students year after year. However, which Warrnambool student here today would you award the wooden spoon?
That's a very difficult question today, because I'm just not sure all here, but I would think I'd have to say Brendan Condon.
Thank you very much. Next up we have Deb.
I'm a bit worried about this.
So Deborah is our medical director from Eastern Health. So Melbourne was under the longest lockdown in the world this year, stretched to 246 days apparently. How did you maintain group morale and foster resilience within the Deakin cohort during this time?
Well, I think when you're dealing with a challenge, your mindset is all important as to the success that you're going to have with dealing with it. And I just detected a slight negativity in your question. So we may have had the longest lockdown, but you know, all of the people out in the regions, you know, living in normal lives, did you really experience a real pandemic the way we did? So what we did to maintain our morale was to think of you all and to take great heart from your normal lives out there. However, we did have some advantages to a pandemic. The roads were clear of traffic. We could go out when no one else could go out. Yeah. When we were in, we could stay in from 9 o'clock and go to bed and, you know, have a nice night's sleep and live a happy, healthy life. As long as we didn't catch COVID, which none of us did. So I think we maintained morale amongst our whole group. We stuck together, we entertained each other. I used to wear a tiara on my Zoom meetings with students and nobody ever commented. Did various silly things to try and maintain morale, but we got through it, and I think we did it because we were able to stay on placement for a lot of the time, and that kept students busy and out of mischief. Can I sit down now?
Not quite, sorry. So the take home from that is wear a tiara.
Yeah.
I have a hypothetical situation for you. Say you're on the consultant round and you're buying coffee in the morning for the team. You take all the orders and you come to the intern who requests a strong decaf latte. How long do you wait before reporting your concerns to Prof?
I call myself first.
Thank you. Next up we have Sue from Ballarat. Welcome.
Thank you.
Has anything about the graduating Ballarat cohort or anyone in particular surprised you?
Well, I suppose the last 2 years have been full of surprises, but this particular cohort surprised me about the number of bake sales they conducted over the whole 2 years. I was also surprised, one day I got to work and one of my colleagues said one of the students been knocked off their bike at a roundabout. They're in the emergency department. I said, oh my God, that's terrible. They said, don't worry, they're okay. And it was actually turned out quite well because another student did a WBA on them, and so they're now clear, which was really good. The other thing was, I suppose there was some of our students were from interstate, and I was surprised about the number of times they went interstate and then Victoria closed their border to that particular state. So that was another surprise. I was also surprised about, despite lockdowns and restrictions, travel restrictions, that the student community groups were still able to achieve so much over the 2 years. So Teddy Bear Hospital turned into Teddy Bear Telehealth, which was a great success. The high school engagement program went ahead in between several changes of dates. And surprisingly, the library tour went ahead as well. Yeah. So lots of surprises over the last couple of years. I suppose the thing I'm not surprised about but impressed with is the students' ability to be able to cope with all these changes, because even though we weren't in the longest lockdown ever, we had restrictions placed on us, which meant students couldn't travel home, couldn't see their loved ones during a really difficult time. And they all did remarkably well, working together, looking after each other. So I wasn't surprised about that. I was totally impressed, and I feel totally comfortable that this group, definitely the Ballarat group, and I'm sure every other clinical school as well, will enter their careers with that ability to adapt to change. And so I think that's a real asset for everyone, even though it was really tough.
I don't think you're alone with the WBA practice. I think most of us gave and received a flu shot for our TIPS assessment. I have one more question for you.
This is the hard one, isn't it? This is the one we didn't know about.
Which requires more resilience, panning for gold at Sovereign Hill or being the clinical school director at Ballarat, and why?
Panning for gold at Sovereign Hill is pretty easy when you grow up there, so definitely the director. It's So the locals know we're in the creek to go.
Thank you. Thank you all. That concludes the directors panel. We now have a word from the wives, coming up with Ange, so I'll pass over.
Thanks, Karina. So, like she mentioned, we have a word from the WISE panel. So I'd like to invite Mr. Sonal Nagra, who's hiding somewhere, there he is, Dr. Kathryn Mcleod and Associate Professor John Richmond, please to join me at the front. Told you to sit at the front, Sonal. According to. Don't get too comfortable. Sonal, you have been a mentor for so many.
Most in that period of time was the documentation and discharge summaries. That was probably what I did not like very much. One, because in Fiji, where I come from, discharge summaries were handwritten. And when I used to handwrite these, most people could not read what I wrote, but that was what I disliked most. But over time, I've realized that I used to despise the fact that when I was doing these discharge summaries, I was stuck on the ward, and all the excitement was in theatre and in the emergency department, but I was stuck on the ward. But then over time, when I've now begun to appreciate what work is done by the junior doctors, I've realized that they form the foundation of the hospital in terms of documenting what we're doing, in terms of making plans and ensuring they're carried out, ensuring that when I am getting sued, that what I did was well documented, so that I've got a plaintiff and I've got evidence. Okay, and then merge the truth now. And then the last thing we want is that our GP colleagues get the information that we want to get out to the hospital. So although it might not be exciting, although it might not be sexy, the job of an intern on the ward to try and get the information out is exceptionally important. I was always taught that, you know, you've got to be a good junior doctor before you can become a specialist. You need to be a wholesome doctor before you can become the consultant surgeon where you do all the work and I take all the credit. So it's a great. Now, in terms of what I liked, okay, that has also changed a bit. So when I thought that when I graduate, you know, I'm going to be Superman. Okay, I can do anything I want. I'm licensed to kill in inverted commas. That changed a bit in the sense that when I got that graduation, I thought I'm going to enter the ward. I will not have to answer the questions of the professor on the pathophysiology of diverticulitis. The pain and agony that I gave you guys on your ward rounds will not be me. I will not have to answer those questions. I won't have to be prepared for the ward rounds in terms of answering, you know, why this patient did not get something done or what. But, and also the fact that if I enter the ward, I will not have to get permission from the nurse or the allied health officer to do something. However, that changed very rapidly when reality struck as an intern, because your biggest asset is those nurses and allied health workers if you're going to have a successful internship. And I say that because I learned that the hard way. Okay? You've got to make sure that you can work closely with these guys to ensure that you can progress in your internship. And me as a surgeon as well, because I depend on you guys, I depend on the nurses, I depend on allied health. It's a team effort, and you guys make me look good, which is very, very challenging. But yes, so that's what I depend on. And the other aspect that I would say is that in terms of, it's supposed to be words of the wise, I'm supposed to say something profound here, is that I felt that if you are going to succeed in life, if you're going to go where you want to be, you've got to have one essential tool that I think will always progress in your career. And that is a very strong medical tool. And coming from a surgeon, it's not the stethoscope, okay? It's not the stethoscope, it's your phone. Whether it is to search Wikipedia, whether it's to search UpToDate, whether it's to search PubMed, but most importantly, is to call a colleague. When you're in trouble, you've got that phone, call somebody. Whether it's your colleague intern, whether it's your registrar, whether it's waking me up at 2 in the morning. That's the biggest asset I've had in my career as a teacher since being involved with Deakin clinical schools in 2014, is that I have finally got my first specialist graduate come through who called me only about 2 weeks ago who needed advice at 2 in the morning. And as a mentor, that's the greatest gift you can give a teacher. Thank you.
You're not done yet. Well, the next question, I'd like you to picture this, and this is also applicable to Kat, as she is also a surgeon. A med student is holding a retractor for you in theatre during an 8-hour laparotomy. They're sweating through their scrubs as they focus on answering the most obscure questions possible. They're panicking about breaking the sterile field as they try and stretch their back and reposition. Their spirit is being crushed and their career choice is being re-evaluated.
That sounds like every day.
Can you and Kat describe the joy you feel as surgeons in moments like these?
That's the only reason I did surgery. No, I think Kat will agree with me that we as surgeons, so the only reason I'm actually dressed up today is because I'm consulting this morning. Most students will agree that I normally am in, a very casual attire. We have, I hope, Kat agree that we have, hopefully, as the youngest have changed the domain of surgery in the sense that we don't want this to be the arrogant, dominated, male chauvinistic society. We'll talk about this one. But we've changed that to become a little bit where we are approachable. Hopefully we've changed the perspective of bullying and harassment in surgery. Hopefully we've made it a appealing profession that both males, females, or whoever wants to join the profession would be supported, given the opportunity, whether it is part-time training, full-time training, whatever training, over the board training that I would expect. But you have, hopefully we are not creating that atmosphere for medical students or trainees or registrars in any form or fashion. So yes, we do have students sweating all the time, but hopefully they look like this when they're in the operating field. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Sonal. So next up we've got Kat. So Kat, you've been the most wonderful role model for myself and other women in medicine. And despite there still being a lot of work to do for gender equality in this field, you've inspired us to persist and shown us that women really can do it all, not that we had any doubts. What advice do you give myself and other women in this room in navigating an ongoing male-dominated field?
So I also want to say congratulations. Seeing some of you today, didn't think you would make it. So we're here. So I have to say, like, there's been a lot of bad press about being female in medicine. But I guess my take is that I just don't think that holds true now. I don't think being female holds us back at all. You can do whatever the hell you want. And I think it's all changing. So I do think that on a serious note, being a female is not what holds me back. I think it's being a parent. And I think that this is an issue that affects female and men. It affects every single one of you. So unless you have a partner that's willing to stay at home and do everything for you, it's a partnership that you're going to go into, and it gets hard when you've got medicine and you've got family and you've got marriage and you're juggling, and it's societal issues. It's I was thinking about this question last week, and I thought that I was going to say everything's wonderful, but today I gave my head of department a big headache because I've cracked the shits because I need to take my son to school, and we have a 7 o'clock meeting. This gap, and we decided that it probably wasn't appropriate for me to bring my 4-year-old kid before I dropped him off at school. It's not a female problem. It's a parent problem, and I think that we all have to fight this together. So I think that's where the society is heading. We've got to fight these issues together. It's not a gender issue. I mean, even my son, it's quite funny. I think society is changing. So 6% of consultant urologists are female, 25% of trainees are now female. It's just not an issue. My 4-year-old son asked me, can boys be doctors when they grow up? It's a different world. So I think as long as we work all together, it's all going to be good. Yeah, I think just don't let anything stop you. Do what your passion is. Don't do what you think you do or what your parents want you to do or whatever. There are so many specialties that you have no idea that they even exist at the moment. So think broadly and don't choose too soon. That's my advice. So yeah, thanks for asking me to be here today. Thanks. One more question.
We'd also love to know, what would you say is the worst surgical specialty, and why is it orthopaedic surgery?
I think in Geelong the orthopaedic surgeons are absolutely lovely. I think we are quite blessed. No, surgery's the tops. So there are no such thing as a bad surgeon, I think. So thank you.
So, John, although I didn't go to Ballarat Medical School, I've heard some pretty wonderful things about you, and it seems like you've also been a great mentor for the students there, so thank you for that. During our first year, we had to memorise all of the transporters in the nephron. And as a neurologist, do you think that soul-crushing task was really that important?
I'm not sure that I can answer the question. I honestly would not remember those. One of the advantages of being a practicing nephrologist is that you can leave the minutiae of renal physiology way behind. And it is a great book.
That's what we wanted to hear. But more seriously, do you have any advice for us on how to go about choosing our future specialties?
Well, yeah, look, I've thought deeply about this. One of the things, a lot of these points have already been touched on by other people, but medicine is an ever-changing landscape. As mentioned a few months ago, there are going to be careers in medicine that don't even exist yet. I predate CT scanning, ultrasound, gastroscopy, colonoscopy. Imagine medicine without that. One of the people in my medical school was one of the founding members of Monash IVF. Again, something which we were fortunate to be taught by Carl Wood, who in fact was probably the father of IVF. But again, would we have thought those things were possible when we started medical school back in the 60s? The answer is no. So some of you have already decided on what your careers are going to be. Many of you haven't. And that's challenging and can be confusing. When I left medical school, I had in my mind that I might be an obstetrician. My first 6 months as an intern were surgical rotations. It very soon became apparent that when you have monocular vision, you're colourblind, you get back pain when you're holding retractors, and you can't tie knots. Surgery's not going to have to do. But I'm not a physician by default. I'm a physician because in my other intern year, and in the couple of years after that, I had the opportunity to choose roles, to work with people, and to experience medicine and learn to love medicine. When you are looking to choose a career, firstly, can I suggest that you don't rush? It seems like we've got to get out there and get it finished, just like medical school. But you know, I'm getting close to 50 years since I graduated from medical school, and I didn't have to rush it, though I probably did. It doesn't hurt to take your time. The most important thing is to have a range of experiences so that you are sure about what you want to do with your careers. Once you start making that decision, then it's important to research the roles that you're going into, even your interviews, research them. While you're there, absorb as much as you can, and then when you finish, reflect on it. Because that will start to give you insights about where you want to head in medicine. Understand your clinicians, the registrars you work with, talk to them about where they got to, how they got to where they are now. Understand their journeys, because we all have different journeys and different pathways. And when I reflect upon how we judge the outcome of medical schools and medical degrees, you've all done a fantastic job. You've graduated from medical school, you're undifferentiated, you've got many choices available to you. And it's not that different from when I graduated from Monash back in the 70s, when Monash was 5 or 6 years into graduating medical students. The school was yet to have its impact on the community at large. But we are now starting to see that impact of Deakin students on the community at large, because we're now out to 10, 11 years post-graduation, and people are having an enormous impact. So where you end up in medicine is not going to be defined by where you are today, it's going to be defined by where you are in 10 years' time. And there is much to look forward to. So just take those opportunities when they come up. Seize them, make the most of them, reflect on them, and I'm sure you'll all end up having extraordinarily successful careers, whatever you choose to do.
Thank you. Thank you. That concludes the word from the Wise panel. I'd now like to invite Mel up. She's going to lead the reading of the Declaration of Geneva.
Thanks, Anne. Thank you, doctors. So this will be I will say it and you will repeat after me. But it will be on the screen, I assume. Right. Can everyone hear? Ready? As a member of the medical profession.
As a member of the medical profession.
I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of humanity.
I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of humanity.
The health and well-being of my patient will be my first consideration.
The health and well-being of my patient will be my first consideration.
I will respect the autonomy and dignity of my patient.
I will respect the autonomy and dignity of my patient.
I will maintain the utmost respect for human life.
I will maintain the utmost respect for human life.
I will not permit considerations of age, disease or disability, creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or any other factor to intervene between my duty and my patient.
I will not permit considerations of age, disease, or disability, creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or any other factor to intervene between my duty and my patient.
I will respect the secrets that are confided in me, even after the patient has died.
I will respect the secrets that are confided in me, even after the patient has died.
I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity and in accordance with good medical practice.
I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity and in accordance with good medical practice.
I will foster the honour and noble traditions of the medical profession.
I will foster the honour and noble traditions of the medical profession.
I will give to my teachers, colleagues and students the respect and gratitude that is their due.
I will give to my teachers, colleagues and students the respect and gratitude that is their due.
I will share my medical knowledge for the benefit of the patient and the advancement of healthcare.
I will share my medical knowledge for the benefit of the patient and the advancement of healthcare.
I will attend to my own health, well-being and abilities in order to provide care of the highest standard.
I will attend to my own health, well-being and abilities in order to provide care of the highest standard.
I will not use my medical knowledge to violate human rights and civil liberties, even under threat.
I will not use my medical knowledge to violate human rights and civil liberties, even under threat.
I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honour.
I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honour.
Congratulations, everyone. Now, I believe we welcome our President of Medusa onto stage. Everybody please give Paolo a round of applause.
Thank you, Mom. And thank you to all the staff, family and friends who have attended today. Because I learned to cook things last minute, so just bear with me, please. My name is Paolo Masangcay, and I'm the Deakin Medical Students Association President in 2021. And today I'm honoured to be given the opportunity to close our completion ceremony, a celebration for the graduating class of Deakin Doctors of 2021. On our first day of medical school, we stepped into a big lecture hall in the Deakin building, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to study what we thought was medicine. little did we know the journey that awaited us. Sleepless nights, hours of practice of our examinations, cramming thousands of practice multiple choice questions, and completely ignoring the meaning of little and often. And the pandemic, who would have thought that all 150 of us would be sitting here at an in-person event? And here we are 4 years later, ready to graduate as doctors. So I'd like to reflect on what I learned. What I actually learned in medicine is quite difficult to describe. First of all, your patient is a person. Listen to them, empower them. Second of all, you will always keep learning. You don't know as much as you think you do, and you will always finish a day learning something new. Thirdly, medicine really is only glamorous on TV and movies. Ange and I are still waiting for our Grey's Anatomy moment. And lastly, I still have no idea what's going on in the hospital half the time, and that's okay. But I do know this, that we will graduate from Deakin knowing that there is nothing that can stand in our way in our path as clinicians. You have all shown grit and courage and conviction to make it through the past 4 years. And you will also graduate today knowing that you are not alone, that you share this journey with 150 other doctors who will be there to support you for the rest of your career and your life. Today, I wish to congratulate the class of 2021, Deakin's newly minted doctors. We did it! I'd also like to invite our graduating cohort to please join the alumni page, or everything I just said is useless, so please do that. Now I'd like to welcome our band of doctors who will be closing the ceremony with us. Alita, Bevan, James, and Kathryn, who will be giving us a performance today. Please welcome them to the stage.
Don't look at us. Oh, that's too loud. There'll be Leach has made a wicked presentation that'll go, so don't look at us because I'm nervous already. So is everybody. I wanted to close the ceremony. Paolo. By saying thanks, everyone. It's been a rare and awesome privilege to be a part of this group, and a group that I think will go on to actually change the world a little bit in a really good way. And that's awesome. So reflect on that. Be good. You're all good. Also, what was it? PSA, once we're finished, because we're the only thing that are holding you back now. Everyone grab a drink, go outside, I think, and then they're going to remove the chairs, and then it's social time. Cool? Cool. And with that, we wanted to say good riddance to you all. We hope you have the time of your life.
Another turning point, 4 seconds of a road. Time grabs you by the wrist to rescue as you go. So make the best of this task and don't ask why. It's not a question, but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable. It's something unpredictable. In the end is right. I hope you're at the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you're at the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you're at the time of your life. I hope you're at the time of your life. I hope you're at the time of your life.
You can play very well.